Hello, everybody. I wanted to give you all a breakdown of how I do my trach care, and it's a little different than how they taught me how to do it in the hospital. And one of the great things that's been such a blessing since my accident is the fact that I went to a really good hospital that taught me a lot of good practices for trachs and vents and spinal cord injury in general. But I have adjusted how I do my trach care, so this may not be the blueprint of how you want to do trach care or how you should do it going forward, but I wanted to give an explanation of how I do my trach care, why I do the things that I do, and how it's able to benefit me going forward. But before I do that, I wanted to tell you all about my Patreon right now. I've started a Patreon at patreon.com/the Drew Crew. And if you want to join the Drew Crew and join in helping me make more of these videos possible, make more content, and being able to educate those with spinal cord injuries and being able to share my experiences over the years, please go sign up for the Patreon now. And with that, let's get started. So the first thing you'll notice is my nurse setting up the material for our trach care. I don't use the trach care kits that come with your supplies every month because a lot of the materials in the trach care kits are just low quality. So we actually have to buy all these supplies ourselves. So first, Q-tip applicators, because they're small enough to get under my trach and still clean everything without being too aggressive or thick and putting pressure on my trach and neck. Second, I use a solution that we make. It is 1 part vinegar, 3 parts distilled water, and we actually drop my Q-tips into that solution. I also use split gauze 4x4s, which are kind of softer. I use 2 of them, come in a pack, and I use both up under my trach. And then I also use trach ties, which come pretty standard. Like this, they are thicker blue and white trach ties, and we change it once a week. So you'll see as she took the trach pad out, she's bracing the tie on each side so that my trach doesn't move. And as she's pulling it out, she's also going to push down and wipe everything that's under my trach. Something I do as well that's a little different is that I like to clean in quarters. So I start with the Q-tip on the side of my trach, go all the way in until it hits my trach, wipe the trach to either the bottom or the top, and then wipe my skin down and out or up and out. Cleaning it in quarters like this allows me to, one, go from the clean area to the dirty area. And it also allows me to clean the entire trach without putting more pressure on the trach, and also without reintroducing bacteria going over a dirty spot more than once. After we clean it, we get ready to change my trach tie because it's wet from the shower. And when I change my trach tie, first we have to take off this, it's called a stronghold device. It's this device that's holding my vent onto my trach. See the blue plastic pieces on both sides of my trach? That's the stronghold number 107, which you can see in this picture here. It holds the vent onto my trach. So first we take that off. One thing to keep in mind is that besides the trach tie, there's nothing else holding the trach in my throat. So the entire time she's doing the trach tie and undoing my trach tie, she has to hold the front of my vent because Otherwise, the trach itself may pop out. It's a little more difficult because she has to do everything one-handed, but that's just the way that I have to do it because otherwise my trach might come out. So first, she undoes one side of the trach tie and lays that down, then starts putting in the new trach tie and velcroing that inside the trach, and then taking the two opposite ends and attaching the two trach ties to each other. After that, she reaches around, pulls the old trach tie out from my neck, which is also pulling the new trach tie around my neck as well, because they're velcroed to each other. Then she takes the other side of the old one out, which is once again a bit difficult to do everything one-handed. Once she gets that undone, she separates the two trach ties, leaving just the new one around my neck, and attaches the new one to my trach. You can see I'm coughing a lot, and it's just because of the movement of my trach, and my throat always hits my gag reflex, and it's almost like an involuntary cough that I can't control until it's all the way velcroed and stable. Once the trach tie is attached to the trach, we double check that the trach is centered on my throat still, and if it needs adjusted, she grabs both sides of the trach tie and will rotate it to make sure it's centered. Sometimes I'll also have some drainage under the stoma, and she'll take a 4x4 or a Q-tip and wipe that drainage. After that, she'll put the stronghold device back on. Once the stronghold device is back attached, we then put the new 4x4 split gauze. In order to do that, we grab the very back of my trach tie and pull it straight up towards the ceiling so that it creates a gap in between the trach and the trach tie without putting pressure on my trach itself. Once everything is attached and everything's back in place, we make sure the trach tie itself isn't too tight or too loose. If it's too loose, we tighten it in the back, which you can see in this video. There's usually a Velcro piece in the back, and splitting it in half, and I tighten it in the back first. You also want to make sure the Velcros that are attached to the trach itself are all the way tight. That way, later on, when you're changing the trach pad, the split gauze, it doesn't get caught on that Velcro. Well, that's my trach care. That's all the care I do every day or once a week as far as the full trach tie change. And once a day I do cleaning. So the cleaning part with the Q-tips and changing out the split gauze, we do that every morning. And that's how I keep my trach as clean as possible and prevent any extra bacteria in my stomach and making sure I don't get any respiratory infections. All right. Thank you guys for watching. And once again, please consider signing up to the Patreon at patreon.com/thedrewcrew so that I can hopefully make more videos just like this one. All right. Talk to you guys later.